Welcome to South Florida saltwater fishing. I'm Heath, and it's time to get into the bite.
Dolphin in the boat, baby! Look at that mutton snapper. Hold on.
You having fun?
Nice tail fishing on a white bucktail jig. And we're almost like that. That's a rosie right there, man.
Alright folks, in this episode, we're going to go over 5 ways to catch mutton snapper. Before we get into this though, if you want to learn more about fishing, grow as an angler, just see some great exciting offshore fishing adventures, you can start by hitting the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. Alright folks, so we are going to go over 5 ways that I know how to get mutton snapper on your deck. They're quick, simple, easy, and super effective. So let's not waste much more time and let's get into this. Alright, so the first thing I want to say is a little bit about mutton snapper. They're found over reefs, they're found over structures, they're found in shallow, they're found out deep. They'll be over sand, they'll be over reef structures in shallow. Out deep also, you're going to find them in the 150 to 200 foot range over wrecks. Typically, if you're fishing wrecks and stuff, they're not going to be right over the wreck. They will be in the sandy areas off around them. Same thing with reefs. When you find your coral heads, they will be around in the sand, typically. Now that's not a set in stone rule, that's just a generality about when you are targeting them and what you're looking for. Alright, so the first tactic we're going to go over is the tried and true way with what I call a mutton rig. What a mutton rig is, it's basically a very long version of a fish finder rig. You're going to have a weighted sinker that's topical for whatever depth you're fishing for them in. So if you're in like 70 feet, you want maybe a 1/2 ounce sinker. If you're out in about 150 to 200, you might want an 1.5 ounce to 2 ounce sinker. And then the next important thing about this mutton rig is your leader. It's at least 25 to 30 feet long, and you're gonna want to use fluorocarbon. So here's the thing, when you're fishing with a rig like this, mutton snapper tend to be very weary of unnatural sounds like sinkers clunking on the ground or hardware clanking against each other like swivels and sinkers and hooks. So you want to use a single circle hook at the end of your rig. My best way of fishing for them like this is with fresh or frozen sardines. However, you can use live bait, rig it up, toss it out with it. Now when you are using this mutton rig and you are targeting mutton snapper, you're going to want to be drifting. Mutton snapper live their lives pretty much over the same area of a reef where they tend to mate. They're what's considered a non-transient species. However, they're not really in big groups. So if you find 1 or 2, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find a huge school of them. They don't live like that. Which is why drifting is good for this type of fish. You catch some, when the bite slows down, you can move on and keep drifting over other areas. So what you'll do with this mutton rig is you're going to drop out, you're going to keep spooling out line until you feel the bite, lock your reel up, and then you're going to wind your fish in. The mutton rig is great because of the stealth factor. There's literally nothing for this fish to see except the one hook going into the piece of your bait. Alright, we're going to take you out on a boat and show you how this is done real quick.
First wreck site of the Pompano Rodeo sites. We're going to, we're in 128 feet of water.
I'm gonna see maybe if there's a mutton or something all the way down there.
Oh, there we go. We got him. He's on. All right.
Here it comes.
We got, oh, big old mutton. Whoa, big old mutton. Big old keeper mutton. Look at this one, Chloe.
Oh yeah, that's mutton snapper right there, baby.
That is what you call an excellent start today.
All right, so that was a little bit of an older video, but it was some good fun. That fish was caught off a wreck in about 125 feet off Pompano Beach. Now, along the same lines of keeping with the stealth factor and using bait still, we are going to talk about what's called flatlining. This is the second method of fishing for mutton snapper, which is ultra good. What flatlining is basically hooking up your bait, which will tend to be a frozen or fresh bait. In this application, you're not going to use any weight and you're going to be drifting. You're going to let your bait out. You're going to simply let it drift down into the current. You're going to keep spooling out line until you feel the hit. So what happens is your bait drifts down naturally, looking like something dead. Think about it this way when it comes to using weight versus no weight. Have you ever just thrown a piece of carcass or bait off the dock and watch the fish attack it like they've never seen food? That's because it's natural looking. There's nothing to make them spooked or sort of insecure about eating it. If you've got something that falls down to the seabed really quickly, it looks unnatural and fish are going to be sort of sketched out. So again, flatlining, no weight. We're letting out into the current, we're drifting, we're finding structure, reef, 70 feet, 50 feet, the bait just naturally gliding down into the water, falling the way it would without any outside influences. That's what makes flatlining such a great tactic for going after mutton snapper. Now we're going to take you back on our boat into about 70 feet over a wreck. Going to show you what it's like to get hooked up with the mutton snapper on a flatline.
We are in about 70 feet of water, right on top of a wreck called the Nula Express. We're going to drop outside of line and see if we can flatline out and pick somebody up real quick.
Oh, we're on.
That looks like a big one.
Yeah, it'll be a good size. It'll be dinner.
Look at the reel. Either way, if it was a small one, I would still love it.
Oh, I love that.
I love kingfish.
Always fun.
And they're always yummy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, it's a big old mutton. Never mind. I thought it
Whoa.
was a kingfish. Look at that. Big old giant mutton snapper.
I like those too.
All right. First fish of the day. Nice little mutton, 20-incher. Dinner.
All right, the next method is one of my favorites, which is slow pitch jigging. Slow pitch jigging is a great tactic for catching mutton snapper. So when we get out to those deeper areas, which I was talking about, that 150 to 200 foot range, that's where I love to go slow pitch jigging for mutton snapper. Slow pitch jigging is inherently bottom fishing. What it does is it simulates an injured fish trying to retreat from the bottom of the ocean. And this bait is injured, so it can't get up very high, and it goes back down. The jig pitches and it falls, pitches and it falls, and this injured simulation of bait fish is what entices the fish to go and strike. So a little bit of advice when it comes to slow pitch jigging. You're gonna need braid. Or jigging, right? You need braid to jig properly. The next thing is you'll want about 15 feet, not much more, of leader. I tend to use 40-pound monofilament. You can use fluorocarbon. And then in that 150 foot to 200 foot range, I use a 200-gram jig. Okay, and what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna head back out on the boat, and I'm gonna show you what it's like to get hooked up with a monster mutton on a slow pitch jig.
Right in around 197 feet right now. Current's pushing us in at a good, a little bit over 1 knot, which is, you know, good for slow pitch jigging. You want some current. Helps keep you tight. Oh, there we go. Somebody up in the water column. I just figured out he got hooked. You want to head back down towards the bottom. Some head shakes going on. Ooh. Oh. Lord, we got a giant mutton snapper. Oh boy. Look at that mutton snapper. Oh man. Like I said, whoo. Woo! Oh boy. That's a solid 15-20 pound mutton snapper on the slow jig right there, boy. Look at that, man. Whew.
Okay, so that was a big boy right there. Nice solid one on the slow pitch jig. Like I said, slow pitch jigging is deadly when it comes to getting the muttons. Now for our fourth tactic, we're gonna head to something a little unusual that you might not think would work, but it does. We're gonna go planer trolling for mutton snappers. So typically planer trolling is for predators over the reef. However, we can use it to target mutton snapper. We just have to be careful. You want to take your planer, whether it's a size 4/6, a size 6, and know how deep it's going to get you. So typically a size 4/6 will get you down around 50 feet. A size 6 will get you down around 60 to 70 feet. This is important because when you are going over your reef and you see the relief structure of it, you want to be about 10 to 20 feet above your reef. So if we've got a planer that goes down to 70 feet, we can troll with it in around 90 feet. Not much shallower, maybe go up to 80 because you don't want to hook the reef with your planer, yet you will be close enough to the ground to where the mutton snapper can see it, swim up, and ambush it from behind. And the thing is to not go out very deep and get off the reef. Now at the same time, you are going over these shallower reefs, so you will get bycatch such as barracudas and false albacore and kingfish. However, the more persistent you keep at it, you will be able to get dialed in and figure out what it takes to get mutton snapper on a planer. And what I typically use for planer trolling for mutton snapper is what I do everything else with when I'm reef trolling with planers. I use a sea witch with a little squirt squid behind it and a bonita strip. And one more tip about planer trolling over the shallow reef for mutton snapper is we want to do about 7 miles an hour. Alright, so we're going to head back out on the boat again, and I'm going to show you what it's like to get into the bite with the mutton snapper on the planer.
We've headed out of Boca Raton Inlet this morning. We're going to do a little bit of planer trolling. So our planer trolling setup is going to be a Penn International 30 spooled with 80-pound braid. That is attached to a number 6 planer, which is tethered to 100 feet of 60-pound monofilament leader. And that is hooked onto my lure, which is a pink and iridescent mylar sea witch, followed by a pink, yellow, and white trolling skirt, and that's tipped with a bonita strip. All right, we're up and rolling. We got our planer set out. We got a fish on our planer. All right, come on. All you gotta do, sit here and start reeling them in. All right, we got Bijou on a fish. On the planer, he hit, hooked up, reeling it on in. There we go. Never easy, especially when you got a good fish on there. See that reel tugging away. That's not a happy fish. All right, come on, we got dinner on the line. Yep. You're almost at your planer. And once we get to the planer, then we'll be hand lining them in. Here comes the fun part. Oh, we got a mutton snapper. A good mutton snapper on the planer too. Oh boy. Look at that. Oh yeah. Mutton snapper on the planer, man. Can't complain about that.
Alright, so that was some good old-fashioned fishing fun. Mutton snapper on the planer. So here's the thing when it comes to planer trolling for mutton snapper. Out of all 5 methods, that is the least reliable. But remember, it's not a guaranteed thing, but it's more likely to happen with these other tactics that I've gone over. Alright, and for the final technique, one of my favorite ones is trolling the shallow reefs with a white bucktail jig. For this method, we're going to go with light tackle. We're going to go with snapper spinners, something like Penn Spin Fisher 5500s, Penn Battle 5000s. We can use braid on our main line, or we can use monofilament. I use 12-pound test of either. And if we're using mono, we're only going to use about 12-15 feet of 20-pound fluorocarbon. And if we're using braid, then we're going to use at least 50 to 75 feet of fluorocarbon for our leader. You need that shock cord if you're using braid and you're trolling with it. And now our bucktail jig, we're going to use a white bucktail jig. You're going to want to use either a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce. I've been fishing for mutton snapper for quite a few years on the troll, and bucktail jigs work. But the bigger ones, 1 ounce, 2 ounce, they don't work. They won't bite it. You don't need to add any bait on it. You are fishing just the jig. Now when we are trolling these shallow reefs, we're going to want to stay 8 to 15 feet over the shallow ledges. If you can find where you've got ledges of coral meeting sand, that's the best bet for getting into the bite with the mutton snapper. Now I'll be honest with you, I have the most luck with this tactic down in the Keys. However, up north it is not impossible to still get into the bite with that. We're going to troll our bucktail at around 5 miles an hour. Again, trolling. We're in pursuit of hunting fish. So look out for the strike, because mutton snapper will run you into the rocks and you're in shallow water, like I said, 8 to 15 feet. All right, we're gonna head back out on the boat one more time and show you what it's like to get into the bite with the mutton snapper, trolling the shallow reef.
We're not gonna go out very far, maybe about 75 feet with this one. Get you out the second line. Let this one out about 50 feet or so. Not very far. Good to go. So this is Patrick trolling. Skinny, shallow water trolling. In between, 5 and 15 to 20 feet of water. Yes, you can troll this water, and it is super effective, and you will get into the bite. Gonna take a little bit of practice, a little bit of getting to know the area, but there are always fish around. Remember, fish hit trolling baits. You're tracking down fish that are hunting. Don't ever forget that about trolling, the pursuit of hunting fish. This is what I mean right here. You got the bright green and the dark blue. We're gonna troll our lines right in between this stuff. This is where the fish are gonna hide. Right over here, from the sand to the coral. That's a good fish right there, boy. Alright, we got it. Drilling it. Alright, we got Abby on a fish. See what happens here. Getting up closer. Oh man! Oh no, it's gonna be a giant mutton snapper, Abby. Yeah. Wait, don't reel. Here's what I need you to do. Oh man. Whoa. That's a good thing. Look. Oh my lord! That's what you call trolling the patch reefs! Look at that mutton snapper!
Alright, and there you have it. A nice big old fat mutton snapper over the shallow reef, hooked in 8 feet of water. Fish Slayer did a great job reeling that guy in. Got him on the gaff, got him in. Alright folks, that about does it for this episode. Hope you had fun, hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned a little bit about what I consider to be the 5 best ways to catch mutton snapper. Till next time, South Florida saltwater fishing. Going wherever the cool wind takes us.